Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Tonight is October 13, 2022 Town Board Workshop. Please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. So tonight is our budget workshop. I presented the town board with our budget at our last town board meeting. They have been reviewing it. I'd like to thank our comptroller, Mark Posniak, for his assistance on this budget, as well as all the department heads for their participation. And I gotta say, I'm extremely happy with this budget. I was kind of dreading doing it because of the high inflation and potential lower revenues that the town might potentially see next year, but the town is in excellent fiscal shape. We create a very balanced budget, very economical for our residents, and this is the most important job this town board duties are, is to focus on the budget and to implement good spending and cost-saving measures, and I think we do that very, very well. I'm very happy the town board is active with all different aspects of our government, and it helps me a tremendous amount. So we do have a total proposed budget for 2023, including special districts, of almost $30 million. East Fishkill, we have never broken the New York State mandated tax cap, and I'm happy to say that this proposed budget does not. Even with, like I mentioned before, 40-year record high inflation, we will not exceed the tax cap. All municipalities feel the pain of inflation. So I just want everybody at home to understand that. We know how you feel. We all own homes in the town. We all have our own home budgets. We all pay for fuel. We all shop at the supermarkets. We know that everything is sky high. Well, it's also sky high for municipalities, for local towns, villages, cities, the state, the federal government. So I'm just afraid for the future that eventually this will come home to roost, as they say, and see what actually will affect the taxpayer in the coming years. Our fuel budget, for example, I think it was met in June. So pretty much we're looking to double the amount of fuel that we budgeted for the 2022 budget. Even though that's the case, and other inflationary costs as well for the town, we can absorb that because we have cut in other areas. So I'm not too worried about the 2022 budget and the 2023 budget. The increase to the levy will be, for a typical home, 0.46%. which is about a $5 to $6 increase for a typical home. Keep in mind, the actual tax levy is 1.13%, but because of the growth in town, all the new construction that has been going on, this equals that our taxpayer, our average home, current home taxpayer will only pay 0.46%, or $5 or $6 more than they paid last year. So this is great. And that's why this town board is always discussing economic development. This is why we push to have all new industrial development in that in the corridor on 52 for the old IBM East and West campuses. And those projects haven't even come on board yet. The Amazon, Frito-Lay project, those tax revenues won't be seen till next year. So even though we do have new growth, that's why we're able to keep the 0.46% tax increase because of all the new growth. But next year, hopefully, it'll be even better. And hopefully, our revenues will come to fruition what I have proposed in this budget. And if they do, maybe we can have a zero next year. I really tried to do a 0% increase this year. We did play with the numbers, but because of certain inflationary measures going on right now, it was prudent for us to have a very, very small increase to the levy. Yet again, another budget. We are not appropriating any town fund balance. The fund balance is the town's savings account, and since I've been supervisor, we have not used any fund balance in any of our budgets. Currently, the total fund balance for the entire town, which includes our general fund, highway fund, and the rec development funds, is a little over $10 million. Our New York State fiscal stress score, this is a score that Tom DiNapoli, the state controller, sends to every municipality, every town, village, city, school district, I think that's it, in the entire state, and they rate what your fiscal stress is, meaning if you have any indicators showing that you cannot potentially pay your bills or something like that. We have never had a high stress score. Our highest since I've been supervisor was 9.6. And basically, you don't see, your name doesn't go as a designation for susceptible to fiscal stress, moderate fiscal stress, or significant fiscal stress, which is the highest, until you reach 25 or higher. So our highest score was 9.6 several years ago. This year, for 2022, our 2021 score, they tell us in the year after, was 0. So you can't get any lower. We have 0 fiscal stress in the town, which I'm very, very proud of. And we will have no reduction in any services that we provide for the 2023 budget. We are maintaining our paving and draining budgets with a little bit over $1 million. I believe it's $1,040,000. And the town board, they're very concerned about this. We know that this is very dear to us to make sure that we can pave as much as we can, and drainage goes along with that. We need to prepare drainage before we can properly repave a road. So last year we did float a bond for our paving and equipment, and that was a $2 million bond, which we still have $1.4 million available. We did see very significant hikes in oil costs this year, so we did scale back a little bit on our paving because hopefully those prices will stabilize and we will get a little bit more bang for our buck in the future years. But in saying that, our fund balance at $10 million is at as high as pretty much we can go. So the town board is probably going to propose planning on putting a capital reserve fund for paving, and we're probably looking at in the neighborhood of $2 million to transfer from our fund balance to a capital reserve fund for paving. Also very impressive is our townwide debt. We're down to about $3.4 million in townwide debt. That includes the $2 million bond that I just described. And we do have very little townwide debt in comparison to our working budget. Now, that excludes special districts, water and sewer districts. And excluding water and sewer districts, our operating budget is about $23 million. And out of that, the townwide debt is only $3.4 million. So that's a very, very low number to have for townwide debt, which I'm very proud of as well. Also in this budget coming year, we are proposed to hire 2 new police officers. And as we always discuss, this town board is very cognizant of public safety, very important to us, and it is reflected in this budget. So those were just a little bit of the highlights. I want to turn it over to our comptroller. He'll make a few extra points, and then I will turn over to the town board for any of their comments. And next 2 weeks, when we have our voting meeting, is our public hearing. The public can come in and speak about any issues on the budget that they feel that they have to. So, Mr. Posniak, how are you?
I'm doing well, thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Just a very brief high-level presentation and then open it up to questions from the board. So looking back, first of all, the top line there, orange in color, represents the historical trend for our general fund expenditures. It's a pretty flat line. There's a little bit of a uptick recently, but over a 10-year period, 11-year period, that's almost entirely flat. The green line in the middle is our highway expenditures. We've been very slowly building that up, mostly with additional paving over the years, but again, a relatively flat trend. The blue line is our combined general fund, highway fund, fund balance, so it doesn't include the rec development fund, but it's the other two townwide funds. The only thing I'll note is that at the beginning of that line, back in 2011, was the start of a difficult economic period where we saw a reduction in revenues and an increase in expenses, and you can see that fund balance, which is basically our savings, total town savings, was drawn down to below 2 million.
And that's why we have town savings,
And that's
right,
exactly
Comptroller?
why we have it, and we've built it back up since then, but we are expecting more similar circumstances to what we experienced back in the early 2010s, where we may see some reduced revenues and some increased expenditures, largely beyond our control, mostly due to economic circumstances. So we're well positioned to absorb that, that downturn, should it come. This is just a high-level summary of the budget. You can see the general fund total appropriations, the revenues that aren't property taxes, $8,500,000. So more than half of the budget is general fund budget is funded with other revenue sources, and then the amount to be raised in taxes and the rates associated with those amounts, and then same thing for highways. So the combined townwide funds, about 23 million in total appropriations and 14 million, which is about 60% of that from property taxes. And then the special districts include water, sewer, lighting districts, park districts, drainage, and sidewalk districts. And the other revenues that they receive include water and sewer rents, some park fees that are generated, et cetera. And as the supervisor mentioned, the total budget is almost $30 million, which is in the bottom line there. Year-on-year comparison, so in 2022, our total town assessment was about $4.5 billion. We have about 12,000 parcels, so that means the average property was valued at about $375,000. That includes all the residential properties, also some vacant lots and some significant industrial sites. So even included in that average is, you know, an industrial site worth 125, or assessed valued at $125 million. And the tax rate last year was $3.12 per $1,000 of assessed value, so that this $375,000 property would have paid a town tax bill of about $1,170. In 2023, that same property, this average property in town, would be assessed at $408,000. Town tax rate is projected to be for 2023 2.88 per thousand. So this average property would be, we would expect a tax bill of about $1,175.
So can I interject there, Mark?
Yes.
So as you can see at home, your property increased in value because your assessment increased.
Yes.
And everybody says, well, when my assessment goes up, so do my taxes. Well, you can see specifically that when your assessment goes up, the tax rate goes down. We still have to collect the same amount of taxes. So if the assessment value of the whole town was $1 billion and now it's 1.1 billion, obviously the tax rate's going to go down to equal the same amount of taxes that we need to collect. So I just want to make that point very clear for the people at home who always are concerned about the assessment increase, that it will equal more tax dollars. The way it's designed is not for that to happen.
Just a few notes. So each year when the tax cap is calculated, New York State provides their inflation calculation, and the cap then is based on the lesser of 2% or that inflation. So if they calculated the inflation at 7.17% and capped our tax at increase at 2%. Of course, we're under that anyway, but just interesting to show that they're expecting our costs basically to go up by 7.17%. But as the supervisor mentioned, the average property tax owner is expected to only pay about 0.5% more, 0.46% more in 2023. As I mentioned before, market conditions are likely going to increase our costs over the next several years and potentially affect other revenues negatively. But we're in good position to withstand this economic downturn. Thanks to good planning by the board and the supervisor. Just another, this is the annual comment now, just the minimum wage increase does have a real impact on us. At first, it was only affecting Camp and Red Wing operating costs, where we were bringing people in at minimum wage level. But minimum wage has risen to the point that it's also affected, our other positions. In the newest CA contract, we did a market adjustment to make sure we're keeping our office staff, at an appropriate level above minimum wage. But there is a very real impact, a sort of a knock-on effect to the increases in minimum wage. And it's expected to go to $14.20 next year, and then the following year, it's likely to go to $15 an hour. And that's really it for the presentation, and I would, open it up to questions.
Excellent. Thank you, Controller. The board, you've had time to digest the budget. And questions, concerns, comments?
Well, thanks to you, the supervisor, and our controller for working on this. This is a very sound budget. A lot of the questions I had were pretty much answered there, but with the inflation climate, it seems that it's affecting us, but it could be a lot worse, clearly.
It could be a lot worse. A variety of a significant portion of our total costs are not directly impacted by inflation. There's sort of an indirect, we have union contracts that dictate the wage increases, and they're not necessarily tied to inflation, just as an example. But everything we're purchasing is affected by inflation and fuel and fuel-related projects and shipping and everything else, in particular paving. We're expecting increases over the next year or so.
Other than market conditions, do you see anything else that you're worried about, concerned about?
No, I think we've sort of addressed a lot of the issues. We had restructured our staffing to a level that I think helped us to prevent potentially long-term issues on that front. But no, the biggest thing right now is, and the way the market affects us also is, or the economy affects us, is not just inflation, but there's been a downturn in the stock market. The stock market has a direct impact on our pension costs. We make contributions based on the market returns over the past 5 years. So the downturn of this year and the likely continued of that in the future is going to have, 5 years worth of negative consequences for us.
Right.
So yeah, every 5 years, they give us a number that we have to contribute to, then they recalculate that. When was the last time we were given that?
So it's every year, but it's a 5-year rolling average. So every year they look back 5 years. So what's happening now is going to stick with us for the next 5 years.
Okay. One thing that I've noticed with all of us on the board since we began, we've always looked for ways to save money. And even though our fund balance is very strong, and we should all be very proud of that, I really do hope that we continue to look for ways to continue to try and tighten our belt and save. I know some families are struggling. I think it's only appropriate that we do whatever we can and continue to try and tighten up and pull back wherever we can.
And that was, the direction I got from the board and in constructing this budget with the supervisor was, an attempt to keep the tax increases as little as possible, understanding that, although our costs are going up, so are the cost of every household in the town.
We could always find a way to save a buck.
Yeah.
So we've done it in the past, and I'm sure that we'll continue to do that.
Right.
That's why our economic development plans are so very critical. And this budget is proof of that, that we are increasing the budget 1.13%, but the taxpayer will only see a 0.46% increase.
And the economic development we're having in town offsets those as well, right? So,
I just think when this afternoon, talking with Mark, the point should be made that our tax implementation agreements with the large industrial, Amazon, Frito-Lay, et cetera, have not even started because those buildings have not yet received C of Os. So obviously, this makes this even better because that innovative approach that the board has taken to bring these properties to the town and to start having the tax money flow from them hasn't even become available. It will become available over the next 2 years as the buildings are complete. So.
Yeah, and that's a great point, Town Attorney, and the best agency that will make out is the school district.
Yes,
Yes,
As always.
tremendous amount of taxes will
a
be
lot of money and no kids.
That's right, that's right. No children produced at these industrial sites, and contrary to what some people say, they do pay a tremendous amount of taxes.
they will, and they don't pay any if you don't attract them.
That's right.
You had to get them here first.
Gotta get them here first, right?
So, again, like Tom Franco said previously, this is a sound budget. I met with Mark, I believe it was yesterday. We went over a lot of the figures and went over salaries. We spoke about the different departments, especially highway and the police department. And it looks like we have done, the town supervisor and Mark and the town board, we have done a great job foreseeing the issues that we might have, if not otherwise, taken care of a while back. And we had put stuff in place like retiring some of the old people, not by attrition, but, allow them to retire on their own, which that allowed us to bring in younger people at a different base scale and contribution. That is one of the things that Tom was talking about before. And these are some of the things that we had to really put in place in order for today to be where we are.
And also what you board members do. I know, Councilman, you are always looking to have the recreation, you're the recreational liaison, and you bring in these different leagues. They want to do projects, they want to upgrade their facilities, and rightly so. We have wonderful programs, but as you always tell them, we are a partner here. It costs you some, it costs us some.
And so that the community knows, this is something that Recreation has always done from day one. I mean, talking to the different people in the Recreation Department, it's always been community and town hall working together to really create what we have now. We had a lot of volunteers that they donated their time, they donated a lot of the infrastructure to put a lot of these beautiful fields that we have today. So we still continue on that, and I'm happy to say that we are revamping a lot of the facilities. These people are happy with the way we respond. We've had meetings, and they really love the positive impact that we have contributed toward their projects.
It's been financially beneficial.
Yeah, and it's something that the taxpayers in this town really have to be proud themselves of. I mean, I just want to say a couple of things. I mean, talking to our controller and overlooking the budget, I feel very confident to say that we are saving tax dollars for the community. To me, like I mentioned before, highway and the police departments are always a big concern. I want to make sure that these people have the tools that they need to really service our community. And I have to say that with our chief of police and our superintendent, there has been great collaboration in the past few years. We work together. These people really got the message, and they've been working with us to really service our community at the same time, saving a lot of money for the taxpayers. This is something that it wasn't always like that, but I am very happy to really announce that this is going on right now. And I have to thank these gentlemen for the great job that they're doing. We will continue on this trend. I mean, I want to thank this town board. I want to thank the town supervisor and the rest of the staff for really, we have been working together. This is really something amazing. And other communities really should look at us, and they do. Says, how does East Fishkill do this? And we are always on the move. We are thinking for what we could do tomorrow. Economic development is a great thing. We've been working on it. We continue to work. We take a lot of heat sometimes from the community when they accuse us that we give away the key to the town to some companies that they come from far away. But if we don't do that, like the town lawyer just Tom mentioned before, our school taxes will be going through the roof, and at the end of the day, the local community will pay 80% of their assessment or 80% of their property value, as we all know, go to the schools. That's a lot of money. I mean, we just paid our taxes, so you guys know what we went through. And this, the fruits of our labor, I think it's going to be a couple of years from now, we're going to see even better. I mean, we don't know what tomorrow brings, but again, we are ready, and we're not afraid. So again, great working with you guys. Great job, I think, all around. And as I said, the town is in good shape. This is a very sound budget.
Thank you, Councilman. We work hard on it.
Work smart, not hard.
I'm pretty sure they work smart and hard. But with that, Mark, thank you so much for your efforts in this, Supervisor. It's a great budget. Can you point out that number again for me? The state expected us to have the opportunity to raise taxes by over 7% with inflation. Yet our budget has only increased by 1%, and only 0.5% or less is being passed down to the taxpayer. I think just thinking about that in a larger sense, that is an amazing feat that you all were able to accomplish. And that would not have been possible, of course, without the direction of the board and the town supervisor, but especially our staff here at Town Hall. Throughout the pandemic and the last couple years, people have jumped into new roles. They've filled into different positions to ensure that our levels of and our quality of service, that it has not changed. But yet, we're able to do more with less. And we're working through inflation and the rising costs of everything else. And we're doing our very best that we can to prevent those costs from falling on your backs, your tax bills each year. So thank you all for your efforts. Thank you to our town employees for everything they do to support our residents and Town Hall itself. I mean, there's really nothing to complain about in this budget. I don't think you guys could cut anything else, even if you tried. But you guys did a great job, and yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Councilman, and thank you all to the board. And your comments about the staff, thank you for that. The staff works very, very hard. I'm very proud of our staff. One person in particular, my assistant Gina Grippo, she does like 20 jobs. I mean, it's like a catch-all, and she does it wonderfully. So thank you to all the town employees. And we have our budget public hearing coming up in 2 weeks at our voting meeting. So the public will have their chance to come and have any questions they have for us. And any other comments?
Now, one other thing that I need to bring up is, you know, I personally been on this town board now for about 8 years, and I see the mood change. Again, you know, the common sense approach to serving the community. It's been amazing. It's been something where years ago I used to hear, unfortunately, there is nothing that we could do. You don't hear this town board talk like that. If anybody in the community addresses with a problem, we work and we see how can we remedy that problem. financially especially, it is something that we are probably, like the town supervisor said, it's the utmost responsibility that we have. So when people say, I would like to be on a town board, look at us, this is what you need, requirement in order to fill these seats. It's not just looking pretty on TV, but doing what it really takes
Speak
to
for
serve the
yourself.
community. So I want to thank you guys and commend you all.
Thank you, Councilman. So like I said, our next town board meeting will be the budget public hearing, and the public will have their chance at that time.
October 27th.
Thank you, sir. October 27th at 7 PM. So our next item on our agenda for tonight is our Chief of Police. How are you, sir?
Good evening.
He's going to give us a little presentation on license plate readers.
So thank you for the opportunity to address the town board to discuss or for me to answer any questions you might have about what I propose for 2023, and more specifically, license plate readers. So commonly, it's known as a LPR, which stands for license plate readers. These are automatic license plate readers. The purpose, real simple, protect the community and eliminate, reduce crime. Everything we do really focuses down on those two things, to reduce crime as much as possible. And technology is a key component now for in-police work. So, but why flock license plate readers? One of the reasons is the city of Poughkeepsie, standing police department, extremely professional. They're using flock safety cameras, and they're working so well for the city of Poughkeepsie that the Dutchess County Sheriff's Office has ordered dozens of them to distribute and place in strategic locations. So right now, the county is successfully using these cameras, and the idea is to expand on that. I'm told that the city of Poughkeepsie, the city of Beacon and the town of Poughkeepsie is also, has placed these cameras into their budget. The purpose of that is to stay on the same path we've been doing now for the past 2-3 years, and that's to combine our services, to work together to solve the issues. We meet monthly now, which is something relatively new that's been going on only for a few years. We all work together. We're using technology, software to bring things together, so like almost like one big police department where we're still separate entities. So one of the next phases in that could be these license plate readers, which I'll get into more in a minute. But why flock? Because the other agencies are successfully using them, and I'm going to get into that a little bit more for you in a moment. The big thing here, technology. Technology. And how does it work? It's real simple. We're not calling Central Hudson in to hook up power to these cameras. We're not asking other agencies or a cost to install these things. Flock camera systems, they come in, they do the installation. It's powered by solar. The transmissions, once the information is gathered, it's transferred by cellular technology. And that information is stored on the cloud. So basically, there's nothing in our building down the road that we have to buy, purchase, maintain. As you know, data storage is extremely expensive. The information is secure. It's stored in the camera to a certain point. It's stored there, and it's encrypted information. Then it's sent to the cloud, where again, it's stored on a encrypted basis. So if you look at the picture we have here, you'll see the back of a car. So one of the things a lot of people have concerns is, are we invading people's privacy? On the way home, when you're behind a vehicle, close your eyes, because that's what this does. This takes a picture of exactly what you're looking at every time you get close to the back of a vehicle. So it's public information, it's public view. We're not gathering information that's not already available to the public, and license plates have to be displayed by law. So what you see next to the car is the actual camera. That's what it looks like. It's about that size, and then attached to that would be a solar panel. So they come in, they'll put in a pole, they'll put in the camera, they'll put in the solar technology, and it's transferred, the data is transferred by cellular technology. We don't have to do anything. It's maintenance-free for us. They even have software built into the cameras to detect any issues going on. So if something is failing, they get notified electronically, and they come out and send a crew and take care of the issues. So we don't even have to check to see if they're working regularly. So it's like a lease, and it's maintenance-free. They do all the work. So what those cameras gather, you'll see the first point there is vehicle fingerprint. I'm sure everyone in this room have heard facial recognition technology. That's what this is, but for vehicles. So it's not taking pictures, it's not taking pictures of the driver, it's taking pictures of the back of the vehicle. This software has the ability to determine what kind of car it is, even if it doesn't capture the license plate. It could capture the color, the make, the model, as well as the license plate. At the time we capture the license plate, the information gathered is indiscriminate. So there's no way someone can say, you know, you're targeting me, you're not targeting that person, you're just targeting me. That can't happen because it's indiscriminate. It's super cost effective because we pay once a year, $2,500 a camera. We don't like it at the end of the year, we can give it back. They come, they take it down. If it's not cost effective, if we're not getting anything out of it, we could just walk away the next year. And we don't have to lift a finger. It doesn't gather information on people, nothing to do with people's faces. There's no traffic enforcement involved to it, so it's not a red light camera. It's not gathering any information like that. The technology is designed to focus on the license plate. All the information is gathered is completely objective. There's nothing subjective to it. So there's no way that it can be twisted or turned or interpreted a certain way. It's clear-cut evidence. It also has the ability to notify my officers right in the vehicle if, say, that vehicle, if a vehicle just came in town, is stolen. So at nighttime, we have gang activity that comes in from out of the state, and they come in and they utilize stolen vehicles. So if they were to get off the highway, the license plate readers would pick up the vehicle. A stolen vehicle just came into our jurisdiction, so we can keep an eye out for that vehicle. On the other hand, more importantly, vulnerable adults, missing children, Amber Alerts. If that vehicle comes into our neighborhood, we get an alert within 15 seconds, and the information that's tied to what color car, what kind of car, where the hit was. If it was, say, it was on Route 376, we'll know that vehicle is there. So quite often, we have a few residents, they have certain issues, they wander off, or they get in their car, they get lost, and this system will help us find those people in need. Again, no personal information, no traffic enforcement, and the data that's collected is only stored for 30 days. So we can't go back 6 months later and use that in any way. The information is ours. So the information that's collected, we own, we get to decide what's done with it. It's not shared with anybody, it's not sold, or shared with an outside entity for profit or anything along those lines. It's ours.
Chief, real quick, can I ask you a quick question? I saw on the previous slide where it said 3 of 30 or something like that, seen. So I'm assuming that you picked up that car 3 times out of 30 days. Is that correct?
Yes.
Will it give you where that car was when you took that photo?
So these cameras will be in fixed positions. So we'll place them strategically throughout the town where we think they'll we'll get the most out of it. So it'll give us the time, the date, the vehicle, where it was. So the best way to describe it is the people who just stole from my establishment, the brick and mortar store, as we like to use often in this room, they just stole from us. They went that way in a gray Honda. That's all we need. We don't have to have a license plate number. Oh, I got the license plate. That's really TV stuff. Reality, it was a blue pickup truck. So we can do the search blue pickup truck in that time window and get a license plate number and then backtrack from that. So you get a partial description of a vehicle involved in a crime.
And you can narrow it down.
Exactly. So, go back. So again, this technology is used to solve crimes. It adheres to all the state laws, alerts us if there's a stolen vehicle in town, endangered adult, missing children, Amber Alerts. We get instant alerts right in the police car.
What if we wanted to save that data for longer than 30 days?
So right now, the software is set up with the company for 30 days. I think that's a perfect amount of time. Usually crime is reported right away. Sometimes there's a slight delay. And it can be extended. It will take the four of you to create a law authorizing the extension of that. So the town board would have to vote and create legislature to have that done. So right now it's 30 days, period. And I think that's the perfect window.
So,
But again, it can always be changed or adjusted if we think we need to.
But that information can be downloaded or taken down and saved for a case or whatever it may be if it's a longer-term situation, right?
So if we were using it as evidence in a crime, we would download the information, store it off that, and then it would actually, from the off-site, the cloud information would actually disappear after 30 days under any circumstances. We would have to retain that information, which we can.
What about accessing the information, Chief? So if there's an officer wanting to check out where his girlfriend's been, or see what's going on with his wife or something like that, or vice versa, can they just go and click on and see where they are?
No. There is an entire, not only transparency, accountability portion built into it, but there's a transparency portion. So we're not keeping this a secret. We're discussing this out in the open. Everyone can see in TV land, anyone who's sitting in the audience. We could put it on our department website that we have these cameras as a deterrent. The searches are limited to criminal investigations. So no one has access to them. We can limit who has that access. So right now, I'm toying with the possibility that just my detective division will have the ability to conduct a search, which is basically going online, signing in, and retrieving the information. So it's limited to key personnel, and once you get into the system, you would have to attach a criminal case report number to it. And you would also have to add, Flock Safety has a code component. Why are you doing this search? And there is the transparency component. So they have software, so you can actually bring up who's doing the searching and why. So everyone would have their own sign-in. So it's traceable, and there's no way someone can search this information. And again, it disappears after 30 days.
Okay, that's good to know. And I don't know how the police investigations operate, but say there was something time sensitive, say somebody runs into the station and said, somebody just kidnapped my child and it's in a gray Honda Accord.
So within minutes, we can relay
Open
this.
up an
Oh,
investigation. Okay, very good.
We sign on, as long as there's internet, we're good. We can get the information in real time, put it out there in police land, and any other agency that has something like this or comes across a vehicle matching that script, we have the ability to access signs on the highway and put information, but there is no way people can do searches without being accountable for it, without that being tied to an individual and to a case number. This stuff is so much fun to work with. I'm going to share a couple cases, real East Fishkill. There was a subway shooter. He shot in New York City about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, where he killed a whole bunch of people on the subway, and he took off. They knew he was in a U-Haul truck. Perth Amboy Police Department has these cameras, and they were able to track him because they had a partial idea of what he was driving. I think it was a U-Haul, but don't hold me to it. And because of this information, they were able to bring this man to justice. In Georgia, one of the police departments in Georgia has these cameras. Stranger on stranger abduction. It was an infant that was abducted from mom within 6 hours. Using this technology, the child was safely handed back over to mom. Let's bring it to East Fishkill. So there are three incidents on the screen there. So on September 1st, there was a young lady. She was in one of the parking rides, and an individual exposed his genitals to her in the parking lot. We had a description of the vehicle and something, there was a bumper sticker on the back of the vehicle. Using this system, we were able to find it on one of our local municipalities that had this vehicle. So not only did we get a license plate, from that, we were able to make an arrest. Back on the 6th of September, we had an individual try to pick up an 11-year-old girl. He made inappropriate sexual comments to this 11-year-old girl, and then he took off. We caught him on our camera at the police station because we have exterior cameras all around the station. But unlike TV, we're, okay, enhance the license plate, bring it up. It doesn't work like that in real life. But we had some very specific information from the witnesses, and we had very specific information about the vehicle. It's like the license plate was off-centered. There was a bumper sticker on the back, a roof rack. And we were able to identify who that person was because one of our local municipalities uses this system. Fast forward to September 14th, middle of the night, one of our brick and mortar places had his work vehicle parked in the parking lot. In the middle of the night, car pulls up, and individual gets out with and removes the catalytic converter. So to remove it, basically, you're going to cut the pipe in the front, you cut the pipe in the back, now catalytic converters are over $1,000, plus you have to replace the pipe. So we're talking like $1,500 cost for our business owner to replace this item in his old work truck. He has surveillance cameras. We knew it was, I forget what kind of vehicle it was. We had an idea it was light gray or it was dark gray or silver colored. And we knew the rear bumper had a dent in it. One of our local municipalities were able to locate that vehicle, same little dent that's in the picture, and we were able to backtrack as who was driving the vehicle, and we arrested one of the two individuals. We're still looking for the second individual involved in that. So we've closed out some pretty significant cases just by getting our neighbors to help us. So that's how real life situations in East Fishkill. I'm proposing we purchase 4 cameras. I would love to buy 100 of them, but we have to be realistic.
Don't get carried away, Chief. I just had a good budget in there for you, all right?
So
So Chief, you said that these cameras, I know that you stressed before, they are not for visual facial recognition. You cannot, I guess because of the law, you cannot go there. So unless you have somebody that actually saw somebody commit that crime that fits that description, you cannot really, you could know where the car is, but you can't, without somebody saying, I saw that person, you can't really get somebody to connect to the crime scene.
That's correct. This is an investigative tool. So we can never arrest anyone just based on this information that we grab. We still have to do our diligence and prove a case beyond a reasonable doubt before we're going to make an arrest. So this is the vehicle involved. Let's see. So if you, like we did, you could do a photo array, and the witness would have to pick out the person. That combined with this information, but it gives us a direction, and it saves days of running around.
So, you know, the reason I brought that up, and I don't want to be sarcastic, but in New York City right now, they are taking billions of dollars from the police department, and yet the governor wants to put cameras in every subway car because they think that they're going to decrease crime. I mean, I agree with you that this is a tool, but like the town supervisor said, we don't want to spend a lot of money. At the end of the day, I strongly believe that people like yourself really bring crime down. Cameras.
It's more than just a camera, though. I mean, this really does keep a record of every vehicle that passes by a certain area for, you know, that 30-day period of time. So, I mean, I get that this could be a very helpful tool in investigations, especially when, you know, half the time you don't even have a proper vehicle description. So I get why this would be a benefit to the department. It would cut back on a lot of, you know, almost like your retail, like door-to-door, trying to see who saw what and trying to see who has cameras in the area to kind of capture the vehicles in play. So I understand why this would be a beneficial addition to your arsenal.
I'll share one more East Fishkill related story. Last week, we had two individuals, a wheelman and an individual that would enter the store. They spent $2,300 in counterfeit money in town. A witness did see them the individual jump into a dark blue Audi and then speed south down on 376. So that would be a perfect example of what we would look for and use that as, so how many blue Audis in that 5-minute window would there be? So last week there was an incident, and this technology could have been helpful. I'm not saying it definitely would have, but so I'm proposing we try it for a year, see how it works, and then it'll be on me to present you with this information a year from now, see what the fruition was, and go from there. And nice thing, we don't have to buy these systems. We're kind of like renting them. They do all the work.
Excellent. Comments from the board? Questions? That's it? All right, Chief, thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Excellent. Okay. Well, that will conclude us for this evening. Our next town board meeting is October 27th at 7 p.m. Like I mentioned earlier, that will be our budget public hearing. And with that, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting adjourned. Thank you so much. So we had a